This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good evening. I'd like to call the Board of Fire Commission meeting for Tuesday, February 23rd, 2021 to order. Our first agenda item is to approve the minutes of the special meeting of the Board of Fire Commission held on January 26th, 2021. I'm sorry, January 21st, 2021. Do I hear a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You know what? I think I can't second because I wasn't at that meeting. I was thinking that we were doing that February ones. So you might need someone else to second that.
Okay, Jen. Not a problem. Would someone else second that motion, please, for the January 21st special meeting? All right, thank you,
Second.
Joe. Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
And Pat, I think I need to abstain because I wasn't there.
That's correct. Thank you. And I'll ask for the approval of the minutes for the Board of Fire Commission meeting held on January 26th, 2021. Do I hear a motion to accept?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Any
Second.
question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? So moved. The chief's report.
Good evening.
Before you get started, is there a way for you to mute? Because there's a lot of feedback because I don't think it's not showing that the phones are muted.
Yeah, let me see.
Yeah, I hear a TV or something in the background. Sounds like it's off now.
Yeah, I don't have audio connected with mine. I'm only on through what you see on as the EOC. I don't believe that there's anything on my end.
No, I don't think it's you. I think as the host, though, you can go and mute all participants and then unmute yourself.
Oh, I can. Yeah. If you like, I can. The last time we did that, there were some commissioners who had a hard time unmuting themselves. So we can certainly do so as long as everybody knows how to unmute themselves. Okay.
That's better. Thank you. All right, the chief's report.
All right, chief's report for this month. Since our last meeting, which occurred on, we'll cover a period of time from January 21st until now, the fire department has assisted ALS intercepts about 24 times. We've had 14 incident responses to the highway, 43 incidences that the fire department did not respond to, an ambulance only responded to. 64% of our incidents were EMS related. Our call volume is 713 incidents at this time last year. Present as of today this year is 605. Approximately 389 incidents since our last meeting. And that's what I have for alarms. In terms of the current budget, we are at, through period 7, we are at 63.8% for this year. We were at 60% last year. In terms of the building permit fees, $17,702 in permit fees, which brings us this fiscal year to just over $111,000. Regarding the fire marshal's office, I've provided the inspection report in the mail to you, each of the commissioners in their agenda. You should be able to reference that in terms of number of inspections and so forth. Again, inspections continue, 30 inspections since our last, in the month of January, 4 re-inspections for a total of 34, 6 different code violations were identified, 12 were corrected. We did 49 different plan reviews or permits. And you'll reference a few different addresses on there that we're continuing to stay involved with. Regarding training, our training right now, since our last meeting, we've been covering some vehicle fires. We're fortunate to have a company in town that's donated some vehicles for us to do some training. We've been going over some Connecticut EMS protocols that have been changing as of recent and getting our staff up to date in terms of what those protocol changes are and the different medications that we need to carry now because of them. And then some driver training taking place. And other than that, that's all I have for training. I have a few items for executive session regarding second injury, and that's all I have for a chief's report.
Any questions of the chief regarding his report?
Just a quick question on either delays or overlapping calls. Do you have data on that? You usually give that.
So delays, I don't have any at this point. The overlapping calls, I did neglect to read that to you. 389 incidents since our last meeting, 71 of which were overlapping, which accounts for 18%.
Okay, and one other, I don't know if you're going to report this here, but do you know how many calls were responded to without North Haven resources?
Yeah, so I read that. Now I'll just make sure that I define that a little better. So 43 incidents were responded. Okay. And so that when I reference no fire department response, that is incidents again that have been triaged by our dispatchers and determined to not need the resources of the fire department, and so an ambulance responded alone, solo.
So that did not mean that we did not have personnel available. Correct. It's just that dispatch determined that our personnel was not required.
That's correct.
That's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of the chief regarding his report? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to accept.
So moved.
Everybody else on mute. Do I hear a second?
They may be stuck on mute.
Yeah, I think the fact that the chief modified his panel here. Okay, if there's any questions of the chief on his report, we'll address it as we move forward in the meeting. The next item number 3, as far as correspondence is concerned. Chief, have you received any correspondence?
I have one. It's noted on your agenda. I received a letter from Local 2087, the Career Firefighters Association. I'd like to address it during executive session as it regards sick and injury.
Okay. Any other commissioners receive any correspondence? I received the correspondence from Commissioner Caldwell regarding 6 questions that she would like to propose to our town attorney. We have had, since the receipt of the communication, email conversation with the town attorney and Michael Frieda. The town attorney schedule will permit him to be, or the town attorney, one of them, to participate in next month's fire commission meeting, where all questions that are being proposed will be answered by the town attorney. Anyone else receive any communications?
I do have one other, on the agenda. I do have one other I neglected to mention. I did receive some correspondence. You see on your agenda listed as a Connecticut rear seatbelt law. All we're asked to do, and I'll read in summary the email I received. It's from AAA. It's the Director of Public Government and Affairs. It's AAA Northeast in Connecticut. They're just basically looking to have the North Haven Fire Department listed as an advocate for the need to have a seatbelt on when all occupants are riding in a vehicle, particularly in the back seat. And we'd be listed amongst, it looks like about 100 agencies and about 30 different police and fire departments. So with the commission's blessing, I don't think that would be certainly anything wrong with that, and would be nothing but good publicity and something we would certainly stand behind.
Absolutely agree. I think that's a wonderful safety initiative, and I think we should participate. Absolutely. Any questions by any commissioners regarding this request by AAA? Hearing none, I'll assume that means yes. Chief, move forward.
Sure.
Well,
Jen, did you have a question?
Yeah, I have one other question about correspondence. I know you said there was last month correspondence from Gary George and you were going to forward it to us. Can you?
My understanding was that you were CC'd on that email, Jen. You might need to check in your email file. The chief.
I thought you were going to send it out to all the commissioners. I think that's what we talked about last month. I will go back and check my email, my inbox, but I don't remember receiving that, not one last month.
Chief, were you able to print that off or obtain that email, please?
Yeah, I can certainly find it and forward it, and I think that's one of the things that needs to be discussed in the future, though, is what's considered a correspondence.
Okay.
Certainly an email, I received hundreds of emails a day, so we need to determine, I think, moving forward, and maybe that's appropriate for next month, what's going to be considered a correspondence moving forward.
Sure.
Well, I think that was actually one of my questions for the town attorney was what was considered correspondence. I don't know specifically for you, obviously you get a lot of correspondence. I was thinking more for correspondence to commissioners that have specific questions. So,
Sure.
Yeah, and certainly we'll get that to you, Jen. I was under the impression that you had that, and I didn't recall that we were sending it to all of our commissioners. I thought we were just sending it to you. When I believe, when I looked on my email, you were part of the thread. So I assumed that you were going to be able to find it in your past emails. But we can, if you can't find it, we can certainly send it to you.
yeah, I think the one I'm referring to is the one that had to do with coming up with a plan for apparatus replacement. And that's when we just, when I don't have that particular one. And I think that's the one that I thought might be beneficial for all the commissioners to have.
Okay. We'll have to check and see. It seemed to me that the last correspondence that I recalled had to do with transporting paramedics from the hospital back to the central station. But that may have been one prior to that or whatever. But, we'll check the previous emails, Jen.
Okay.
Yep. No problem. So no other commissioners receive any correspondence? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the discussion of unfinished business for the fire department.
Unfinished business for your agenda, I have listed first, state of the apparatus. I cover this every month. So our annual preventive maintenance checks have been completed. That accounts for the aerial checks on the aerial trucks that we have, pump checks on the pumpers, and DOT checks on all, including engine maintenance and so forth. So again, all the PMs are done. Our engine fleet at this point in time still consists of a 1-year-old engine, a 6, an 8, a 16, a 20, 26, and a 33-year-old engine. We have 2 ladder trucks besides, one that's about 3 years old and one that's a 2008. Then we have the rescues. So our fleet, again, we're hopeful that we can secure the capital request necessary that was requested for next fiscal year to purchase, at least to purchase 2 additional engines to replace the 26 and 33-year-old engines, most likely. We'll find out how that goes moving forward. I think the only thing I wanted to reference in terms of this that's pertinent is it's worth noting, I get often asked what the value is of apparatus when we sell it and we part with it. We just sold the 1991 Pierce pumper. It was 30 years old. It sold for $1,700.
Basically scrap.
So, I think it's something to be said. And then not too long ago, the older ladder truck we had, which was a 2001, sold for $6,300. So I think it's just important that we put that in perspective. Not that long ago, that 1991 and that 2000 apparatus were on the roads being used. We have used cars, most of us, that are worth more than an apparatus that we can get. And so I think that we really need to continue to look at vesting money into our apparatus in our fleet, because to have apparatus that are over 25 years old, They're worth nothing in terms of value after the fact. I mean, very little. I mean, it's money, but it's not a lot of money. And I think we can do better. So I'm hopeful that the town supports the capital request for 2 additional engines. Regarding additional information on your agenda, the training facility behind Northeast, the foundation is complete. Steel is on the way and should be arriving within the next 2 weeks. The recruits have started at the academy. We have 3 recruits at the Connecticut Fire Academy. They're conducting courses virtually at this time. The Connecticut Fire Academy won't start in person until probably the first week in March, and that's still tentative at this point in time. They're conducting class here in the Emergency Operations Center where they can spread out, and we have really good internet access and the ability to have them on camera and so forth. So that's working out very well. They've all received their first round of vaccines, and their second round is pending, and that's going to help to ensure that the academy is able to host the number of recruits that it's scheduled to, with hopefully very little issues moving forward until they graduate sometime the end of May. And that's all I have for your old business, unfinished business.
Any questions of the chief regarding unfinished business?
Not on those specific topics. I do, I have one question, which we've talked about before. Can you just give us an update on where we are with volunteers per house, like in terms of how many we have?
It hasn't changed since the budget workshop. I don't have that in front of me at the moment, but in the budget workshop in December, I provided an update in terms of how many volunteers in each station, and it hasn't really changed any since then.
Okay, so it's the same number. And
it may change by a number or two, but it's not a substantial difference.
And are we, I know that we have some social media, a Facebook page and the website. Do we have just like a standard thing on there about recruiting volunteers, or if people want to volunteer, what they can do? Anything like that?
Yeah, sure. So there's an ad that constantly runs on NHTV. There's been social media pushes in the past. We've participated in Connecticut state initiatives to do open houses with all the departments throughout the state that wanted to participate. We advertise in different brochures and so forth that the high school normally puts together for the plays and things of that sort. We have the Boy Scout affiliated program, but it's the juniors program. We have signs in front of each station. We have a phone line dedicated only for people who are interested in volunteering, and that so that we can ensure that the right people answer their message and get back to them with credible information. I really think that we've done a lot, and I know that people think there's more that we can do, but I'd ask you to look at what other departments have done already. And I use the example all the time. A neighboring department in an adjoining town was advertising on ESPN not that long ago. And only recently they still shut down a station. It's a problem throughout the state. It's a problem throughout the nation. And I think at this point in time, our efforts are shifting to, of course, ongoing recruitment, but more importantly, retention of the personnel that we have.
Yeah, my question was really just so that I had a general sense of what you were doing. You just named a lot of different things that I don't think many people know have been going on. So that's very helpful. And I very much recognize that the volunteer issue is something that is not something that's just for North Haven. It obviously is across the state, across the country. So.
Yeah, we've done a lot in terms of meeting with their leadership and identifying what their needs are. We've made some recent adjustments to the tax abatement with First Select Michael Frieda's blessing, and we've done the same with their pension most recently. So we're doing a lot to try to ensure that we maintain retention of the volunteers. But I don't see this being an issue that's going to go away anytime soon. If you look at even over the course of 2020, I believe for the entire year we had 3 applications for volunteer firefighter. So COVID, I mean, and I hate to fall back on COVID because I know it gets used a lot, but we're asking a lot of people to want to come and volunteer and potentially expose themselves even more so to the virus over the last year. So we definitely felt the impact, even a number of applications that we received.
Okay, thank you. And then one other just general question to the commission, or actually a chairman, is Sally did bring up and requested information on whether we were going to be opening up or figuring out a way to do public comment. I know other boards and commissions are working on this. Have you had any follow-up? Have you talked to Mr. Frieda to find out if there's a possibility to allow public comment at any point?
Actually, I was going to discuss that under the next agenda item, Jen.
Okay.
Under new business. But since you broached that, I wanted to address with the commission their willingness or unwillingness to meet in person for the next fire commission meeting. I know that there's some persons have pre-existing conditions. Some people have not received all of their vaccines. And whether or not they're concerned about meeting in person or not, I'd like to hear their opinion this evening. And if and when we in fact do meet in person, we need to figure out a way, as other boards and commissions are figuring out a way, how to allow the public to make public comments. I welcome that opportunity, and I think I made that clear last month. We just need to figure out a way to do that safely, and for our commissioners, as well as for the public that come in to make those comments. So I guess my question back to the commission is, are you, as individual commissioners, comfortable in meeting appropriately distanced in person at the next fire commission meeting in a location to be determined?
I think for me, it would depend on the location, because there are town buildings, like I know the Board of Finance is meeting, but they're in a much bigger building than like the firehouse on Washington Avenue. So if we can be appropriately spaced apart and we're able to, use the mitigation factors, I would be okay with that.
Well, my expectation is that the chief will determine what the venue would be, and each of us would be appropriately distanced in accordance to the CDC requirements. So whatever that venue happens to be, and whether it be a fire station, the EOC center, or wherever, I think certainly the chief would make sure that we are appropriately distanced. We have the appropriate sanitizers, and if commissioners wish to continue to wear protective masks, they can certainly do so during the meeting. So I think if you're a yes with the appropriate precautions, that'll be great. I feel the same way, Jen. I think it's important for us to be together in person. But again, I think the chief will need to determine what the venue needs to be. Commissioner Zuccarelli, any issues on that or concerns? Are you able to unmute yourself? Chief, are you able to undo what you did?
I'm just asking them to unmute now, but they're joined by phone, so I'm hoping that it still goes through. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, thank you.
Try.
I think if you can unmute them on the.
*6?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try
Commissioner Zuccarelli, Mulligan, Capucci, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you now.
Yes,
Oh, great.
I can
great.
hear you.
All right. Did you hear the conversation about meeting in person at a venue that the chief would determine being appropriately distanced?
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no problem. I trust the chief.
Okay. Commissioner Zuccarelli?
I think he's still muted.
Yeah, *6 to unmute.
You got me now?
Yep.
Yep.
You got me now?
Yes, thank you.
You got me now?
Yes, thank
Can you
you.
hear me now? Can you hear
Can you
me?
hear me now?
Can you hear
Yes.
me now?
Yes, I can. Thank
can hear
you.
me? Okay. Well, I don't have a problem with meeting at a mutually acceptable site. But as far as the comments go, I think we should follow the lead of the Board of Selectmen. Since they're the gold standard, I think, for all our meetings. So, I mean, if they go forward with public comment, I don't see any problem in person. I don't have any problem with it either.
Okay. Yeah, I think we just need to figure out a way how to do that. So there's protection for our commissioners as well as our residents. So I think that will be a responsibility we'd like to charge the chief with to figure out how we could do that. And I think you're right. We follow the lead, I think, as Jen and Mike indicated, of the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance to see how they're handling it, and we can certainly attempt to follow their lead. So we will investigate that, and we'll be in communication with each of the commissioners prior to the next meeting. If we're in fact able to meet in an appropriate venue, appropriately distanced, and if any of you wish to continue to wear PPE as far as a mask is concerned, feel free to do so. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Does that answer your question, Jen?
Yes.
Okay. Chief, the discussion of new business for the fire department.
I've listed on your agenda the fire department providing vaccinators. It's just something I want the commission to be aware of and the public to be aware of. We're actively working on a plan to allow both our paramedics and our EMTs the ability to serve as vaccinators within the established clinics that we have in town, which at this point is just the rec center, although that may change in the future. So just something to be aware of. It's some training the EMTs and the paramedics had to go through, which is just a formality, and we're just trying to ensure that we're either going to be able to obtain FEMA funding to do so and get reimbursed, or that it's going to be an alternate funding source. But obviously, it's a concern for both myself and the first selectman and Ed Zwickowski is that there's obviously an expense associated with this. We want to be sure that it's something that's not going to impact the fire department budget. We already are expecting a change in our budget. It's an ongoing process right now with FEMA to be able to claim some of the various costs that we have associated already this fiscal year. We certainly don't want to add to that any further. I do expect FEMA to work with us to provide compensation for the cleaning that's been taking place at the firehouses this entire fiscal year, as well as some of the expenses associated with staff becoming ill. So that's just an ongoing project, and hopefully you'll be seeing fire department vaccinators very soon.
Any questions of the chief regarding new business?
Can I just?
I think that's. Go ahead. Joe, did you have a question?
No, I'm all set.
Okay, Jen?
Yeah, so you said that the rec center is a vaccination site right now. How are people accessing that? How does that work?
So it depends. It depends on the day, and it's not consistent. We're working closely with the health department on a weekly basis to ensure that they can continue to work at the rec center and provide a clinic, but it's dependent upon resources. It's dependent upon the availability of vaccines and the weather. So there's not an absolute there in terms of when exactly it is, but as often as possible, and it's typically Tuesdays and Thursdays, at least it has been until now. The individuals that attend, either they're contacting the first selectman's office directly and were put on a list because they fell into the category of ages that were allowable, or it's been advertised on VAMs. So I want you to think of VAMs as if you think about when you try to buy tickets to a sporting event or to a concert, and every time you go on to let's say, a ticket vendor, the tickets change in terms of what's available. VAMS is the same exact way. So while the public may be going to VAMS right now and saying, hey, there's nothing available at the rec center, you need to go back on and check later on today or the following day, because constantly there's appointment sites and times that are popping up and disappearing off of VAMS, and that's just because of the amount of people that are accessing that site for vaccinations. But it has been advertised on VAMS, and it is something that a few different occasions we've worked directly with our citizens that needed it.
So I just want to be clear, just because this whole getting signed up for vaccinations can be very confusing, and I know that we signed my mother up on VAMS, and that's exactly what happened. Sites were like disappearing in front of our eyes. So if people want to get vaccinated and they have to fall into the groups that are approved right now. And that's
correct.
They do that through VAMS, or if because the other thing I've heard from residents is that they had a hard time getting an appointment. They can also contact the first selectman's office and get on a list?
At one point in time, they were able to. That list isn't something that they're currently populating right now, only because we currently have a number of people that are still on that list, and we certainly don't want to add to it until we can start to work through the numbers some more. Just understand that myself, the first selectman, we're doing the best we can to try to accommodate the taxpayers and their needs for a vaccine, but some of these things are changing on a daily basis, and we're not even really giving much notice on it ourselves. In fact, more often than not, we find out in the media like everybody else, and then we're stuck trying to figure out how to move to meet that goal. But in addition to VAMS, 211 remains available to identify sites that are out there for vaccine appointments. Harvard Healthcare, Yale New Haven Health, Stanford Health, Walgreens, CVS, and Walmart are all doing independent vaccines. And so as this rollout continues to happen with the ages, VAMS isn't the only resource that's available to people.
I wonder if that can also, not to go back to whole social media and website, but whether some of that information can be put somewhere either on the town website or and also maybe on the Facebook. I don't know who maintains the Facebook page for the fire department, but the whole process of signing up for vaccinations has been very confusing to people. So I think if there's any way we can get that information out, that would be really helpful.
Sure, I'll talk to the first selectman about it some more. Just we've been a little apprehensive to do a whole lot other than repeat what QVHD is saying, and that's in large part because this is being run by the health districts and by the health department. This is not a town-run initiative. We're simply hosting a site, and that's all that we're doing. It's something that we're just, because there are so many issues associated with it, we're just trying to really allow the health departments to be the ones that are the sole proprietors of putting this together. And again, you have to appreciate that's just because we don't have the answers much more than anybody else.
So maybe I'm sorry, this is the last thing I'm going to just say or ask. So is the best place for people then to call is directly to the health department?
Yeah, call the health department, call 211, and they should go to their websites, go to their Facebook pages. This is throughout the state. The vaccines are being completely handled by DPH, and it's been made very clear to everybody that this is being run just by DPH. So no sooner could we put something out, and then it may change, and we may not even realize it's changed, and then it's old information. So we're trying to be careful how much we really put this out there ourselves, other than just repeating the message from the health department.
Yeah. I guess the Quinnipiac Valley Health is the best website to go to.
Locally, yeah.
Locally, yeah. They should have the most up-to-date information for our residents to attempt to make an appointment. Yeah. Any other questions regarding vaccinations or what the chief is doing or the first selectman regarding this? No. Hearing none, we'll move on to the good of the fire department.
Good of the department, I've listed on your agenda. I received a notification career firefighter Michael Nargi is going to be retiring from the department after 36 years of service to the town of North Haven. Certainly a long established career, and we wish him the best of luck in the future, and hopefully he enjoys retirement.
When is that date, Chief? Do we have any
At the
idea?
end of February.
Okay. Well, we certainly wish firefighter Nargi good health in his retirement. We thank him for his years of service to the residents and the business owners of the town of North Haven, and for his service as a firefighter in the North Haven Fire Department. So 36 years is a long time, and so it's a job well done. Absolutely. And anything else for the good of the fire department? Hearing none.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Joe.
I see the old fire rescue truck on the road the last couple of weeks. Is there something wrong with the newer rescue truck?
No, there's nothing wrong with it. It just has, the older one is four-wheel drive, and with the weather that we've been getting at various different days and so forth, makes more sense to put the four-wheel drive rescue on the road than the other larger one that's not four-wheel drive. You'll see it shift back soon.
Thank you, Chief, and I agree with you 100% about the four-wheel drive.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Any other questions regarding good of the fire department?
Can I just ask one last question that someone had asked me and I couldn't answer? Whatever happened with the naming of the headquarters?
What do you mean? The headquarters is named.
Well, no, I'm sorry, not the headquarters. There was going to be a building that was named. You guys had voted on before I was on the fire commission to name some of the volunteer houses after some fire chief. And then there was a discussion on whether you had the ability, the fire commission had the ability, or it had to go through the selectmen. So do you know what the status of that is, or is that, it was to name a building after Chief Aubert, I believe.
My understanding is that that initiative took place. The first selectman indicated that it is the selectman's responsibility to approve the naming of buildings in town. And at this point, he did not want to name any other buildings in town. And as a result, that initiative, was not moved forward on. So, and then so that's basically what occurred. So we have not taken any action on that at all.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. I'd like a motion to move into executive session. I'm sorry.
moved.
Yes, and do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're going to move into executive session. Up the gun.
You're good.
Looking to move back into regular session of the Board of Fire Commission for Tuesday, the 23rd of February. Is there any further business coming before this commission? Hearing none, I'd like to make you aware that the next regularly scheduled Board of Fire Commission meeting will be Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021 at 6 p.m. in a location to be determined. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So ordered.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting's adjourned. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.